Good morning. I'll call the Museum Committee to order, and I'll remind anybody if they have a pecuniary interest, they can declare it now or further down the agenda as it arises. Item number 2 is the only action item on our agenda today. It's a request for items to be deaccessioned.
So this is the first time you'll see items from the archival collection being brought forward to deaccession. And, you know, similar to the collections reports that you've seen in the past, we follow the same process and procedure. And basically, again, this is just following standard guidelines and making sure that, you know, we're keeping a healthy collection. So the attached report from the archives lists a number of items from the Krug collection. And basically, again, the reasoning behind the deaccessioning would be because a lot of duplication of items as well as some that are in poor condition. But the intent would be to, again, either sell, physically destroy, or use these items for educational purposes in an education collection. So there's quite a list there.
Excuse me, the recommendation that the list of items to be deaccessioned dated December the 3rd, 2015 be approved. Moved by Ann Eady and seconded by Mitch. Any discussion? Pardon me.
Yep.
Mitch.
Yeah, so the ones that, so where we're saying duplicate, meaning, you know, usually when an archival collection comes in, sometimes it might come in one piece at a time. In the case of Krug, there were boxes that were delivered. So we didn't necessarily know everything that was in the box, but we knew that it was significant and we needed to receive it in. So as we start going through and processing the collection, that's where you'll see, you know, you might have 3 or 4 copies of the same thing. So we're looking at taking the best of, and then the other one, again, would be depending on the piece, again, sold in an auction, just physically destroyed, or we would use it for educational purposes. So we would be using it in a school program, for example. And then in that case, it's really valuable because the kids are actually being able to handle real artifact material, but it's not being damaged. So we have the better copies kept in the stacks. Yeah. Okay.
Bob.
Do you get very many people, like to sell this stuff, do you get very many people coming forward wanting to purchase it, or is it most of these items just destroyed?
We haven't really done a lot of sale in the past. So if you'll remember earlier this year, we did do an auction, and we set up an acquisition fund with the funds from the auction. So there are lots of people that do collect. So we're hopeful that what we would be doing is packaging up the pieces in an auction. So again, it would be in a lot. So there would be, you know, a number of the pieces as opposed to just one. So there are people that do collect. So we're hopeful that that will be, you know, a good way for us to process some of these things. And then the other ones, like I said, if it's in really poor condition, nobody's going to want it anyway. So then it would be physically destroyed. Otherwise, you know, again, we could use the pieces for education. So, okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? I see none. You have the recommendation before you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried.
Okay. So moving along, again, and this goes back to our strategic plan, something that is coming out of the strategic plan, and also, you know, good practice from a museum and archival perspective. So AMRI has worked very hard to create an archival collecting plan, and you had seen previously that we had put a collections plan in place. And the collections, now we both areas. What the collecting plan really does, several things, but it really makes us have a hard look at what we have, what the strengths of the collections are, where our weaknesses are, and that helps guide us when people are contacting us and wanting to donate to us, because of course we only have finite space, so we can't take everything. It helps us to do that. It also helps from a research perspective when we're looking out and trying to let people know what we have in terms of the strengths of the collection. So the draft plan or finalized plan is kind of in front of you. I know you've probably probably had a look through it. But we're really excited to have this plan in place with the collection plan as well. And both of these plans are really living documents. So as things change, as we get more municipal records in, as we get more funds in from different groups or individuals, it really just adds as a basis, a guiding for us to really kind of tie together what we have in both the collection and the archives as well. So that's just an information purpose. And are there any questions on the collecting plan?
Questions on that? No questions? Thank you.
Good. The other two areas that we have, or the scroll forward because the collection plan is quite large, but we have also now some correspondence. So the two letters of correspondence in front of you would be from the Cultural Development Fund. So that was the last payment that we had. Of course, we had to, like many of the grants, we have to submit a final report, and once we submit the final report, they release the balance of the funds. So we've now completed that, the Cultural Development Fund, and we are in receipt of the funds. And the other letter that you see before you is in regards to CMOG, so the Community Museum Operating Grant, and we are in compliance with everything that has been asked of us. We continue to work towards making sure that the museum standards are met. We do receive a full report as well from the ministry advisor advising us if there's any areas of improvement. And also what you'll be seeing in the coming months is some areas what we'll be working on to be in compliance with the grant for 2016. So there are very specific areas within the museum operating grant that they're going to be looking at, be it policy, be it social media plans, things of that nature, and those will be upcoming in 2016.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding these two items of correspondence? Thank you.
Okay. Busy working on securing funds for the 2016 budget, and OPG has kindly come around with some checks this December. So we've secured the funding for the Chagall exhibit, which is the main summer exhibit, for Family Heritage Day, for the Adventure Talk programming, and 3 of the events coming up in regards to programming, as well as our Ancient Civilizations lunch program, which is for the school programming. Janice is working hard to secure more funding for the 2016 budget as well. Okay.
Any questions on sponsorship?
Okay. Then we move into collections, and a couple of things I wanted to highlight in the collections report. You know, we launched the Bruce Remembers, or the revamped version of the Bruce Remembers website earlier this year, and really importantly, what we're working on is making sure now that the collection side of the website, we're adding to that. So we are in the process right now of working on Past Perfect Online. So Past Perfect is our database where we have all of the archival material and the collections stored in a database. Past Perfect Online will make it accessible beyond just physically coming into the museum. So that's part of our digital strategy moving forward with our strategic plan. So we're quite excited about that. So Laura's been busy processing from that side. We have had a secondary student from SDSS come in working on a housing project, rehousing objects. So again, optimizing the storage as much as possible. So he's been helping from that perspective. We launched a new exhibit, which is our quilt exhibit, and our CAO has a quilt in that show, and that will be on till the end of January. And Laura has actually had 2 speaking engagements out of that as well, going to different quilt guilds to present on the content behind that exhibition. In regards to loans from the collection, we have just actually signed off, and the loans going out the door today. Some of the beads from the Rivermouth Speaks archaeological collection are going to Toronto-based archaeological forum to do some photo x-raying on those beads. So that will be out of our collection for about 5 to 6 months. And then Laura has also finalizing the details for the Crozier jacket, which is very exciting because it's going to be exhibited at the CMH, formerly the Canadian Museum of Civilization, as part of their large exhibition for Canadian history in 2017. So So they tend to have the loans a little bit longer in period. So we're looking at least a 5-year initially for them and potentially a 10-year loan with them. But very good profile for the museum and for the county's history to be showcased at the CMH. So we're very excited about that. Okay.
Questions on the collections report?
Okay. And then outreach and education, our outreach education coordinator was busy with a variety of programming. The educational side was a little bit slower because of the work to rule. When the work to rule was lifted, she's now been either out in classrooms or classrooms coming into the museum pretty much every day of the week. So a big push right now is, of course, you know, in the fall months, it's usually the Remembrance Day or the Veterans programming. And then as we move into end of November, beginning of December, a lot of focus on the holiday traditions program. So she's been tied up with a number of programs from that perspective. And then, of course, we're also, for the first time this year, we're not closed over the entire 2-week period of Christmas. So we're basically just closed as of Christmas Day and to New Year's. So we're doing some new, trying out some new programming. The schools, the children will actually be off, so our focus is obviously on preschool and school-age children to come in and to be doing different workshops over that time. So hopefully we're going to see lots of people through the museum over the Christmas period. And then the last bit is in regards to our programming report. So just kind of a recap on the fall programs that we have lots of activity in regards to the beer and scotch tasting. We had a performance where we partnered with a local theater out of Kincardine for Remembrance Day. We had our museum mixer. We had the Bala Bunch from Teeswater come. Of course, our Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I think if you can, when you look through the pictures, you might even see a picture of our county engineer in there. It was quite interesting. It was a great event, packed event, and people are wanting us to do it. There he is right there with his wife. And then, of course, you know, we don't slow down, so we've got a number of activities coming up for the balance of the month to go into our Christmas fun days and our memories of Christmas and visits with Santa, which will all start this weekend. And that wraps up the report for the museum.
Any questions on the outreach or programming report? I see none. The next meeting is January the 7th. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Paul, go ahead.
Kathy, I want to thank you, Museum Forward, in that you're going to have some open hours between. It's been a thing that has been a thorn in my side for several years, why that museum was never open between Christmas and New Year's, at least for a few hours. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And actually, we're doing a poll that is on our website and also through Saugeen Times to see if people are interested in us being open an evening as well. So more accessibility.
You can only vote once, eh?
Well, on Saugeen Times, you can only vote once. On our website, maybe a couple of different.
So I voted the other
I have a
morning.
couple of IP addresses you can go in from.
I think Sunday evening, just so you know in advance.
Well, thank you, Paul, for voting.
Any other questions or comments before we adjourn? And the motion to adjourn? Anne, seconded by Bob. All in favor? Thank you. We'll meet again January 7th.
Thank you.